Philosophy. The Greek word meaning love for wisdom. In modern times, philosophy is most often affiliated with speculation of topics such as metaphysics, the supernatural, and even religion. In today's video, I'll try to be covering as many philosophical parallels as possible within the Kingdom Hearts franchise, particularly through the outlet of the video games themselves, which would mean to exclude the light novels and the mangas. So, sorry guys. Before I begin, I would like to thank a few individuals for inspiring me to make this video. Philosophy is something extremely important to me, and Kingdom Hearts is one of my all-time favorite video game franchises. I've always wanted to mold the two together, but never really had the motivation, I guess, to do so until recently. I would like to thank Hatman Matt, aka Zadok, for really giving me the main push to see this video as a possibility. He has a couple of amazing videos detailing and summarizing Christian imagery and symbolism as seen within Kingdom Hearts. Secondly, I would like to thank author Mark D. White. White is chair of the Department of Philosophy at the College of Staten Island in New York, but he's also the series editor for the Blank and Philosophy series. He's contributed to book titles concerning The Office in Philosophy, Spider-Man in Philosophy, and even Final Fantasy in Philosophy. These books and more have been a great inspiration, not only for my personal studies, but also for this video. All this being said, let's jump into it. To begin talking about Kingdom Hearts and philosophy, I would like to discuss the lore. The lore of Kingdom Hearts is already incredibly convoluted, but with the help of philosophical patterns, I think we can see some lore elements beginning to fall into place and make some sense. According to Xehanort, the series antagonist, his goal was to start
a purge. The world will be returned whence it started. The world began in darkness, and from that darkness came light. From the light came the people, and the people had hearts. Evil burgeoned in those hearts, begetting more darkness. And that darkness spread across the world like a plague. The light, the symbol of the world's hope, was devoured by shadow, leaving nothing but ruin and utter failure.
While this plan may not be consistent with his actions or his claimed motivations in the previous games, since this is the most current reason given, that is what we are going to be rolling with. Xehanort claims that everything began with darkness, and from that darkness came the first light, Kingdom Hearts. From Kingdom Hearts came the people, and from the people came hearts. Hearts would be tainted by evil, causing them to become violent and slaves to the darkness. Xehanort wanted to press the restart button from Kingdom Hearts itself. However, long before Xehanort's time, lived many Keyblade wielders and unions under the authority of one man, the Master of Masters. Within the Kingdom Hearts lore, the Master has the unique ability to forge Keyblades out of the hearts of others. The only Keyblade to be excluded from this process would be the Keyblade.
Pure light against pure darkness to forge the ultimate key. The all-powerful Keyblade!
Keyblade.
Not the Keyblades you and I carry. Key, a most ancient letter. Some say Kai, but the meaning is the same. Death, a letter that spells endings.
The Keyblade not only is the first ever Keyblade, therefore of which all other Keyblades are imperfectly modeled after, but also lives in eternal and perfect harmony with Kingdom Hearts itself, presumably having some other hidden functions alongside summoning Kingdom Hearts. The Master, with this unique ability of forging Keyblades, also possesses the Gazing Eye. The Gazing Eye grants the Master to see and witness events of the future, and after doing so, he writes down prophecies that depict the light expiring. He gives 5 out of his 6 pupils a book of these prophecies, called the Book of Prophecies, and gives his 6th apprentice a Keyblade with the Gazing Eye. The 5 pupils, concerned about the upcoming apocalypse, end up enabling it while trying to prevent it. And that actually happens a lot when it comes to pop culture and shows and stuff. But anyway, during the war amongst each other, one of the pupils gathers a group of Keyblade wielders known as the Dandelions. The Dandelions flee to continue on the Keyblade wielding legacy. While the story of the Dandelions is still going on and in development through the Kingdom Hearts mobile phone game, which I hate talking about, we still have a pretty decent idea of how it ends in context to the rest of the series' plot, beginning with Birth by Sleep and ending with Kingdom Hearts 3. While I've mentioned it before in a few other Kingdom Hearts videos, the relationship between the Keyblade and the Master of Masters is clearly a direct parallel to Greek philosopher Plato, student of Socrates and teacher of Aristotle, and his world of ideas theory. In this theory, Plato believed there to be a metaphysical world or realm of which perfect entities and each organism live. You have perfect horses, perfect flowers, perfect fish, and more. The idea that Plato had behind this was, since each person can think of different images or breeds of a horse, for example, there must be a perfect horse of which our ideas stem from. Again, this parallels with the Master of Masters and how all Keyblades are imperfect replicas of the Keyblade, which exists, again, in harmony with Kingdom Hearts itself. I guess you could say Kingdom Hearts could very well be a physical representation of Plato's world of ideas. Now, I only wish Nomura made it that simple, but alas, here we are. If you wanted to take this example further, you could correlate Plato's students, mostly Aristotle, to the different Union leaders, mostly Lucio. Surprisingly, the only other major philosophical element that's most apparent when discussing Kingdom Hearts lore would be the functioning of the body, heart, soul, the mind, and even memories. Each of these organisms is typically what defines a person within Kingdom Hearts. Sometimes, however, these terms may be used out of context in the story and could even appear synonymous when in reality they aren't. Most of the confusion comes from the life and death cycle that the series implemented in Kingdom Hearts 2 and can be explained as,
if one such as you, Donald, yields to the darkness in their heart, they too will become a heartless. But you know this. The heartless are always lurking and ever seeking to capture new hearts. Never let your guard down. Now then. At times, if someone with a strong heart and will, be they evil or good, becomes a heartless, the empty shell they leave behind begins to act with a will of its own. An empty vessel whose heart has been stolen away. A spirit that goes on even as its body fades from existence. For you see, no bodies do not truly exist at all. No bodies may seem to have feelings, but this is a ruse. They only pretend to have hearts. You must not be deceived.
Nobodies. They don't exist.
Then later, Yen Sid explains the life cycle of both the Heartless and Nobodies.
Xehanort? But his two halves are gone. There was Ansem, who commanded the Heartless, and Xemnas, who commanded the Nobodies. Didn't Sora defeat them both?
Correct. Those two met their end. However, therein lies exactly our problem. Their destruction now guarantees the original Xehanort's reconstruction.
Huh?
Xehanort's heart, once seized by his heartless half, is now free. And his body, which had become his nobody, has been vanquished. Both halves will now be returned to the whole. In short, this means Master Xehanort will return.
The reason of importance behind these systems is that they give insight to the qualifications of life. Within Kingdom Hearts, we have organisms which can exist without a heart, body, and more. When it comes to the real-life importance of this, we can apply it to real scenarios of people living without limbs or organs, for example. While it definitely can bleed into the more political topic of abortion, the parallel is indeed there to show that life is more meaningful than meets the eye. Concerning memories, they're used in games like Chain of Memories and Kingdom Hearts 3 mostly as either plot devices or gameplay gimmicks. Within the lore, memories can serve as vital and deep parts within the heart. They can collapse a person's heart and provide deja vu moments for the heart when the mind can't or just won't. In the case of Chain of Memories, memories can even rewrite reality, kind of like a force of nature. This is how and why we see Sora using them as battle mechanics. They can be used in many different ways because of this, such as forming their own identities and characters, and then even breaking relationships between people across the entire Kingdom Hearts universe for a long, extended period of time. Moving away from the inner lore of Kingdom Hearts, let's now discuss character motivations and ethics. Starting with Xehanort, he's what we would call a visionary villain. Visionary villains are villains whose goals are set up as kind of like the big picture. They're supposedly built to benefit society. While these goals are not necessarily bad, it's typically the means of which the villain acts upon which would categorize them as villains. A few examples would include Thanos, who kills off 50% of the population of planets under the idea that the remaining 50% would thrive on the resources. Doom, who killed individuals under the idea that he could turn Toontown into an affordable and convenient town for people. And even Sauron, who became corrupt after the determination of creating peace and order on Middle-earth at any cost. In most cases, visionary villains could be portrayed as anti-villains. Villains who desire good end results, but with evil or twisted means to accomplish them. In most cases, such as Thanos and Sauron, I would say it works in helping to write a more complex character, but in the case of Xehanort, I would have to say that it doesn't necessarily work in context of his actions and his reasonings behind them. Xehanort aside, we can also look up to characters like Roxas and Xion, who both were kind of dealt a very poor hand in life. Both, as 358 over 2 days in Kingdom Hearts 2 would like you to believe, they were never meant to exist. This is a running theme with nobodies in general, despite their concept of lacking a heart being retconned in Dream Drop Distance. Now, despite the retcon, again, the complexity of these two speaks volumes in their relationships with other characters. Xion at the end of Days and Roxas at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2 both are faced with the decision of sacrificing themselves for Sora, the main protagonist, and being told that doing so is for the greater good. Xion and Roxas are told of Sora as if he's some type of a martyr, but that they need to surrender themselves in the name of his sacrifice. While Xion accepts, knowing who she is, Roxas is always resilient. He's tricked by Ansem the Wise to surrender to Sora. Roxas valued his life, despite knowing it wasn't complete without a heart. Again, this easily points back to the idea and value of life. Should Roxas have traded lives? Could he have lived a complete good life? Was Sora's cause really justified for them to surrender their entire beings to? Speaking of Sora, let's discuss him and his philosophies. See, now Sora is a team player, so much so that he's even infamously known for saying,
"I don't need a weapon. My friends are my power."
Not only is this apparent with how he cares for every single one of his friends, but even towards the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, when Sora stands completely alone, he feels useless, worthless, powerless. Sora has invested himself into nothing but those around him. Because of this, he lacks self-confidence. Sora hides his true motivations behind the relationships that he forms with people. Without them, he literally feels like he's nothing. Sora can easily be identified as an altruist. An altruist, and ergo altruism, is basically a personality-applied moral code to be completely selfless, no matter the risk. If given the chance, and Sora has showed this quite a few times, altruists may even sacrifice themselves for other individuals if an act would benefit the parties. It can kind of be seen as a type of utilitarianism, with the major difference being altruism would exclude the actor from the major benefits. Following up, we also have Riku. Now, Riku is a lot more complex of a character to exactly nail down a particular philosophy for, and I, for one, am grateful for that. See, if characters can easily be applied to a specific philosophical method, you could say that that kind of makes them one note. Aside from the word caring, how else could you describe Sora's personality and how and why he acts? I mean, just a thought. I wasn't really going to go anywhere with that. But back to Riku. Riku takes things a lot more seriously. When it comes down to making the sacrifice, Riku has shown that when need be, he's okay with lying himself down on the line too. We can see this at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, when Riku gives up the immediate ability of returning home, and he trades that to ensure that Sora and Kairi would be safe. At the end of towards the end of Days, I suppose, Riku sacrifices his own body to ensure that Roxas will return to Sora. Riku makes sacrifices, but he does them when absolutely necessary. You could say Riku is more of a realist, I suppose. He analyzes the problems from head to toe to know exactly what he must do for his solution. Interestingly enough about Riku, he is very easily seen as the first character within the series to implement metaphysical thoughts about the outer world and the functions of life. Because of this, it's very clearly seen again that Riku's more realistic philosophies is supposed to challenge that of Sora's altruistic idealism. Between the Birth by Sleep trio, there isn't really much here. The game easily defines Aqua as a motherhood figure to her two friends, one of which is older than her. Ventus just kinda mindlessly wanders from world to world looking for Terra and Vanitas. As for Terra, he's probably the most interesting. Despite having the wit of Plank from Ed, Edd n Eddy, Terra is constantly questioned and challenged for his choices. He makes bad decisions and ends up putting more people in danger than not, but he does it all with good intent. How are we supposed to exactly categorize or view Terra? Think about it. If an anti-hero is defined by characters like Deadpool, who does bad in the name of good, wouldn't an anti-villain need to do good in the name of bad? The anti-villains I named earlier all follow the traits of being anti-heroes. They do bad in the name of good. Thanos is a perfect example of this. What makes Deadpool any different than Thanos? What makes Terra any different than Xehanort? After all, Xehanort sees the similarity within Terra. That's why he picks him out as his vessel. I guess there's quite a few reasons that people talk about that, but I'm just probably rambling here. The only other real dominant characters of any importance, I say, would be the organization members. Most, if not all of them, however, can kind of be defined as one note. You have Evan, who is kind of like the evil scientist, I suppose. Ienzo, which is the goth emo kid for the majority of his existence, or non-existence, I guess. Larxene, who is super crude. Dylan and Alias, I think that's how you say his name, are kind of the honorable and silent duo of the two. You have Saix, who is the edgy kiss-up. Luxord, who's kind of witty. And then, the only other members to really note about, I suppose, would be Xemnas, Xigbar, Marluxia, and Axel. Since Xemnas, Xigbar, and Marluxia all have more of a bit depth, I'll start with Axel. Axel, to be quite honest, I'm not sure really how you would define him. Similar to Sora, Axel cares deeply about his friends, but he's also a mission man. He gets work done in the ways that it needs to be done. Similar to Riku, he analyzes things. I guess he would be a good balance between Sora and Riku when it comes to realism and idealism, but I'm not sure. Since Xigbar and Marluxia are both kind of getting their own motivation and whatnot changed through the mobile game and the upcoming DLC, I'll skip them and talk about them later. Xemnas, and in turn the other counterparts of Xehanort, is what we'll focus on now. So in the beginning we had Ansem. Ansem, similar to Xehanort in Kingdom Hearts 3, wanted to purge the world back into everlasting darkness. Whether or not Ansem's goal was to remake the world as well is unclear, but Ansem at least wanted a full-on darkness purge. Ansem is kind of like a simple villain. Within the lore of the first game, this incarnation of Ansem was actually a Sage King of the world of Hollow Bastion, and the game wants you to sympathize with him under the thought and speculation that he's just simply become corrupt by the Heartless and darkness. While it was an interesting idea, they ended up taking that and applying it to Terra a few games later. Anyway, during Ansem's death in Kingdom Hearts 3, we see Ansem sympathize with Riku, a character who he's been haunting ever since the first game. They both, despite Riku's hatred for Ansem, admit that they need each other to an extent. While Kingdom Hearts 3's ending was obviously rushed and not worth the payoff whatsoever, the humanization here for Ansem is really charming. Furthermore, we have Xemnas. Xemnas' whole deal in the previous game was that he, and alongside his band of misfits, couldn't feel anything anymore. They were literally empty and emotionless inside, despite Dream Drop Distance retconning this to the ground and back. Part of the ending of Kingdom Hearts 2 had you sympathize with Xemnas as well. You see this through his conversation with Sora, how Xemnas has truly forgotten how feelings felt. Xemnas admitted he couldn't portray sadness for his comrades being dead. And this is why it's so fantastic in Kingdom Hearts 3 to see Xemnas admit, out of all the feelings he could admit, he admits to loneliness. Not gonna lie, I loved that. I really felt for these two characters. As gimmicky as they were for the plot's convenience, they had a brilliant little bow tie of a love letter put on their goodbyes. Now, there definitely are more philosophical parallels within Kingdom Hearts, but these are the ones that stood out most to me. So let me know what you guys think of this type of video down in the comments below. Let me know if I missed anything. And yeah, so anyway guys, this is Jake. Thanks for watching. Peace.